No, it depends on how much. Surplus is generated one of two things, windfalls or, and I use this in a kindly way, poor budget. So.
Or optimistic budget.
Well, that's poor, but.
Yeah, where we estimate the cost of doing business higher than what it's actually gonna be.
Right.
Or we estimate the revenues lower than what it's gonna be. And so for years and years and years, we were building up surplus because of that.
Oh,
There was just not a good budgeting process. In town, it was pretty much a guess. An overly, they erred intentionally high on expenses and intentionally low on revenues, knowing that they know that they would then pay their check.
Yeah, if you budgeted perfectly, the only surplus you would get is if you got some unexpected windfall. And then you wouldn't be budgeting perfectly.
That's right.
Or you budgeted, but like now, you can't get the work done and you put it in the budget.
Yeah.
And you can't, and so it's not spent. And that's not bad budgeting. It's part of
Well,
what happens.
Yeah, it's poor execution. That's right. That's the other way. They execute the budget poorly.
I think it says anti-cap revenue, is that anticipate revenue?
That
Anti-cap? It should be,
anticipate.
okay, it should be, CIP. At the head.
Just one, two.
Yeah, it is anticipated, but
Okay.
the box will only fit so many.
No, just take out the A and put in an I. Anticipate, not anticipate.
she's just saying it should be a nice.
Spell it. I'm only talking about spelling. Spell
Yeah.
anticipate.
She's just saying.
Oh, okay,
Anticipated would
okay,
be IP.
Because I read it as anti-cap and I'm like, what happened? I said, what?
Okay, do we have a forum on?
We don't. Yeah.
Yeah, and we need four.
And I'm waiting for Camille to be on Zoom.
Hopefully she also.
She's usually on the way. She emailed and said she would. So, and we got 2 more minutes. It's 5:58. But John and the select board can go ahead.
Well, we got
We go ahead and do.
okay, but.
I have a couple more dumb questions. Like, I don't know what some of the revenue is. Anticipated revenue, I'm on the second draft.
Nobody else.
So. What does the fire department have revenue for? $230. Donation.
Typically, right?
Fire permits.
Fire.
Oh, fire.
Oh, okay,
They don't have much.
right. I just didn't know that. Okay, and then general public safety, what do they get, this 300, where does that come from?
Where are you?
I'm on the anticipated revenue column.
I don't see 300. That's all. Are you on this sheet here? Oh, this sheet.
No, I'm on
You're on
this
this sheet.
sheet.
Okay.
I'm on that sheet.
That's changed.
I still don't see 300.
That, well, this is the second draft,
Right, and this
Okay,
is the new one.
right, but I was trying to,
I don't see it 3.
Anticipated. Oh, I do see.
Oh, there it
I
is.
got
Yeah,
it.
okay.
I got it.
so. where's
It's
it come
animal
from?
control.
Actually, what?
It's license fees for dogs,
Oh, okay.
I think, or no.
I didn't hear the question.
Oh, that's probably
The
what.
$300
The $300 in, EMA, animal control, and E11, revenue, or is it fine?
Could be fine.
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 Yeah, because it's licenses go to the state.
Licenses,
Oh,
yeah.
So we don't get that.
So you don't get anything out of the dog license? You get the agency,
Dollar.
a dog?
Disappears. Although when someone is late, we get the full late fee.
Thank you. I wondered if you were gonna do that. I brought my old ones from 2020 to see if you were gonna do this.
Yeah, although a lot of it is just not as accurate as it normally is.
Okay, we all set the roll, Terry?
Just that Ms. Camille, I just have to
Is Camille on?
18
stop
months.
recording.
For the unwashed, you might want to.
We have
pass it out
Camille.
at town meeting.
Yes, probably.
We all set, Terry?
Yep.
Okay.
Hi, Camille. Oh, look, hello.
Okay, I'm gonna call the Board of Selectmen to order at, on March 31st at 6:02 PM. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Nothing, Terry? You don't have anything, Terry?
I don't have it.
Okay. Jeff Walker?
Nope.
Public comment for items not on the agenda? Seeing none. We have no minutes ready yet, right?
We've never,
No minutes yet.
I sent you a bunch today, but you probably.
They're in that
haven't had a
packet.
chance
Oh,
to look at
okay,
it.
but they're on the agenda for next Tuesday. aren't
They're all in.
they? Okay. All right, so we'll take that up next Tuesday. Okay. Laura?
Laura?
Deal.
Budget meeting 6:03. Camille, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's odd that she can hear us and other people can't.
Well, they said it was
It's
on that.
directional.
Well, no, they said it was there on their side.
Yeah.
And on your equipment.
I could hear you, I could always hear you. And they're just people in certain positions.
Did everybody read the minutes from April 5th?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any? edits?
I have no edit.
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes for April 5th.
Is there a second? Neil? Second, okay. Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes from April 5th. Any further discussion? Camille, do you have any comments?
No, I was just looking through them a second time and I don't see anything that needs to be changed or adjusted.
Perfect.
Which is great job. Thank you. Make more decisions.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Camille?
Aye.
All right, 4-0, pass, minutes pass. Thank you. So I'm gonna give it back to Jeff, because he handed out some paperwork so he can go over it. Or do you want?
There's always,
Or do
you say
or-
you should never hand out paperwork that's in color before the meeting. You should wait until after. And that was exactly my intention.
Okay,
But I would like, at the end of this, to talk a little bit about that paperwork.
okay, so you want to
Yeah,
save these?
because there's snakes in it.
All right. Do you want to go over this first?
We can, although I'd rather have John do the revenues. portion
Okay.
of it. His portion of it first. That would impact us.
Well, I really didn't have a lot to say, other than I do have an explanation on the homestead exemption, which I thought people should hear. And I do think there's a way, potentially, we can look at this two different ways, but to simplify it, the state if it is simplified. The state pays revenue sharing in two payments. They give you your first payment in August, and that's based on some sort of estimate. I don't know what formula they use. I think I got lost in the details of that. And then they give you a second payment in July, after the close of the fiscal year. Well, until we changed the fiscal year, it never really made that big a difference because the revenue sharing just sort of, the homestead exemption just sort of grew slightly. And, you know, it was a couple of dollars off. But this year, because we went to 18 months, our homestead exemption reimbursement amount jumped up from somewhere around 90,000 or 100,000 to 181,000 because it was based on an 18-month budget. But they based our estimated payment that we got in August on previous years. So we only ended up, instead of getting just roughly 85% of it, we got only about 50% of that. And that's why when I started looking at it, I said, whoa, we're $50,000 short. I called her, she explained it to me. So I think there's two ways we can handle this now that we've gone to a fiscal year. I think we could, and I'd like to talk to the auditor, but I do think, and I guess this isn't really a budget committee discussion so much as it is an accounting discussion between Terry and the board and the auditor, but I do think that we could, since we know the exact amount that it is, we could book the amount that's due in July as an accounts receivable at the end of the year. This year, it'll still be a little off because we got that second payment from the previous year, but in succeeding years, it should match perfectly with what we reduce our commitment. The other option is, and that would increase our revenue in this year by about $80,000. The other option is just to let it flow the way it has been, but if we do that, it'll get closer because we'll get back to on the 12-month regular cycle, but it'll never tie out exactly because we're dealing with payments that come in after the first of the year. So number one, that explains why we're 50,000 short. And then I guess the second part is, I think we need to make a decision, and perhaps we can't do that tonight, about how we want to handle this. So questions, is that clear as mud?
And just so you know, that the paperwork that I gave you assumed it would be an additional 50,000 in next year's budget. So it increased, if you go over to, or you go to the one that says less commitment, reducing revenues, that includes the homestead reimbursement. So I increased that by 50,000.
Your sheet doesn't show like the other sheet,
No,
revenue sharing and
mine
homestead.
doesn't have what each one of those.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking for
And
too.
because,
That part of it has not changed on
okay, so
the
the.
sheet you have.
Okay.
So the 424,617
is 50,000 more than what you currently are showing.
So it'll be 181,040 for homestead instead of the 131?
Correct.
Okay.
And part of that is because we're gonna get two payments, right? We'll get July.
We're
and
gonna get
August.
80,000 in
July.
in July, which is the second payment for this year.
Right.
And then we're gonna get roughly, we should get about 80% more or less of 2/3 of the 181. Everything else being equal.
Right. Right.
Which of course it isn't, but.
But now going forward, we're always gonna only get, in the future, we're only gonna get the July payment in the new fiscal year, right?
No, we've got the second payment for the other year, which is why I think it makes sense. And again, I want to talk to Mindy, and Terry had a call in St. George, and I didn't hear
Yeah, and
that.
I talked to Beth and she
What,
didn't
right
really
over it?
remember. She
Okay.
was like, no, I think that's one of those things that I don't really remember and I always have to call when it comes up to it.
I mean, I would prefer for us to book it as an accounts receivable in this year, which means it simply then becomes surplus.
So that,
So we
then we
get to
have
the
to
same
identify,
place.
except we have to identify additional 50,000.
Right, and then we get in sync in future years, where the homestead exemption, assuming they approve our sheet, which they have for the last 5 years, then we'll get the exact amount, or we should get the exact amount in actual cash payments that shows up on the commitment line, so they'll be in sync. Except the first year won't happen because we already got an additional 30.
So I guess the question is, in the future, are we gonna be paid in July and August?
Yeah, and we would have to book every year, at the end of the year, you'd have, you know what that amount's gonna be, and you'd have to book it as an accounts receivable.
Yeah, but you're still only getting one,
No, you're getting the August payment.
and then the July is for next year, it's for 2024.
Yeah, right, but you book it in as an accounts receivable, so it enters the books.
So we
in
do that
June,
forever.
So it enters the books in June, you do that
Okay,
forever.
okay, good, yeah.
But again, I'd like to talk to the,
Is that what
Auditor.
the account, yeah, the auditor?
well, we haven't
has
had
done
that chance, yeah, I just, it took me 4 days to get the state to call
Sure.
me back, and, you know,
So,
and then, of course, when she did call, I wasn't there.
right, so just so you know, and we won't have that solution by the time we finish the
July.
budget. So what you are gonna be voting on, the actual amount of where the money is coming from, you won't actually know that when you're voting on it.
But the budget committee never votes on the anticipated revenues anyway.
No, but
The commitment reducing revenues and stuff.
right. Yeah,
So,
yeah. And they actually don't, they have for the last couple of years voted on a recommendation for the surplus, but it was only a recommendation.
yeah,
So,
okay. Walt has it.
Okay, so if you book it as an accounts receivable, and we cross over to July 1st, that rolls to surplus. It would be available to use at mill rate time regardless.
yes.
Well, we
Because,
could use it now, anticipating what our surplus is. I mean, we don't know what our surplus is for a variety of,
right,
so.
no, I'll attend that meeting. I won't have any
I'll tell you
standing.
what I think you let it go to surplus and then you pull it out.
Yeah.
So you know it really went there, is the way I would look. That's pretty, but I'd have to reflect with the auditor and the accountant.
But yeah, Mindy would have to bless that, right?
Yeah, and I can't imagine why that is not, wouldn't be acceptable if it's a known number that was basically earned in this year, for lack of a better word. But the good news is, we get there, we get the same amount of money in the end, it's just how we get there.
Ask Camille if she has an opinion, an accountant's opinion.
Camille? You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. I was just trying to figure out where that revenue information is coming from besides a line on like the first page. Where any of those details or anything? Like I just see total town revenues under a budget summary, and I'm not seeing anything else. Like where all that you just discussed, I don't know where that is in the book, or at least the binder.
That's because you physically haven't been at the meeting and this page was handed out
Oh, okay.
and it wasn't copied to you.
Oh, it wasn't emailed or anything. Okay. All right.
Jeff, just to help me out, can you tell me what comprises the 424, 617?
Yeah, and it's that same sheet that she.
Right, but it's not on this sheet, right, that's why I'm struggling. So it'd be. I know it's revenue sharing. Homestead.
So is it revenue sharing of 174, 500 still?
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, so it's revenue sharing of 180.
Even?
So that's different from
That
the.
changed in the last 4 days?
236.
No, that was our Sunday number.
236 was, 977 was the last revenue share.
And
That
then
was the first one. right?
Right, that was the
That was on the
first one.
second.
It's on both the first and the second.
Yeah, I didn't see any of those change the whole time. 180,
John and I changed it, came up with that number Sunday.
the 180,
We did, but it never got changed in any of your documents. So all I want to know is what's in your 427.
180.
Yeah.
Homestead, 131.40 plus 50.
Oh,
So
So one-
plus
so
50.
181,
Right.
50, right?
40. 81.
040.
Yeah, 040.
Yeah.
Tree growth of 4,000.
Mhm.
And that's,
Veterans, 2,000.
Yeah.
Betty of 600.
Those are the same.
So it's just the revenue sharing that changed.
No, it's
no,
just
homestead. From,
Well, if the revenue sharing didn't change, then it would be
36, 977,
236,977.
but you said 180.
Or maybe he was
I don't
talking
get
about.
427.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I made two, yeah, that's another big assumption. The number we used for this sheet, which calculates the LD1,
Mhm.
okay? One of the things you use in that is your anticipated revenue sharing. Okay? So John proposed to make this year's 180. That's where the number in that
Okay.
comes from.
oh, next,
So that's for,
2022,
Yeah.
180.
the budget we're working on.
Yes.
Yes.
As 180.
Right. But you said this year.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. I am saying this year in the budget we're working, this budget here,
okay.
Yeah.
okay? We are really expecting, what the state has told us we're gonna get in that is 236,997. Okay, which I think was in the very original.
Yes.
Yeah,
And they actually loaded the 236,477, I think, but I don't know if that.
that's all.
Yeah.
But
So if you use the lower number in this, the LD1 calculation,
Mhm.
then you come up with an LD1 number of 691,812 as the LD1 limit, right? But if you use the higher number, you come up with 643,505. So, and why that's important is because you almost have to use the same number in both locations, right?
yes,
Okay, so you end up losing about $9,000 in this calculation. We go, if we were right on by using the bigger number, we were right on, and then we used the smaller number, we would be 9,000 behind. So my recommendation is we use the bigger number,
which is,
236,
977.
not,
Well, she just changed to 477.
They did lower it to like 4 something. I can tell you what it is. I can-
but we're talking a couple $100 here, right?
Yep.
500.
We should get the exact number.
right.
But I, based on historical performance, I am not confident we're gonna get that. And Terry and I went through and we looked at what was going on, and it's all a guess, it's all an estimate. So I just hate to be overly optimistic about our revenues. The 180 is no magic number, but, and there's a lot of room between 180 and 236 too. But
Yeah, see, I think in this year, I think they did something exceptional at the state level on this revenue sharing. They had several meetings, and each time they allocated additional funds to it because of the pressure of COVID to get back to the towns and give some relief on taxes. So I can't even imagine them reneging on it. In the past, I
But you
could.
gotta remember, they can, number one, they can renege on it, and number two, it is a function, that is an estimate based on an estimate on how well they're gonna, how much revenue they're gonna collect in taxes, and we get we get a share of that revenue, which is where the name comes from. So if they collect less in taxes, we get less. If they collect more in taxes, we get more, because it's a percentage of the total revenue collected by the state. So, I mean, I'm willing to go with the 236. I just,
You want the number?
huh?
236, 439.
236, 439.
I mean, I'm willing to go with that, but I tend to be cautious about that. We have never, to my knowledge, budgeted the amount of revenue sharing that they projected we were gonna get.
So could you just ask me, you say, this is the number they gave us?
The State Department of Revenue
They
Service.
actually contacted us and said,
They
here's what-
posted, no, they posted a
whatever.
sheet with every town.
Something they sent to us, it
Yeah.
says, we're standing behind this number, this is what you can expect us to send you, right?
I don't know about staying behind this
No,
number.
there's no standing behind.
We're just tossing out this number and you guys.
No, it's based on what their revenue,
It's a
There-
projected
it's a
number.
projection based on a revenue forecast, but it all ties into how the economy performs and how much revenue they collect in state taxes. It's all, because even though they make this projection, what we actually get is a function of what they actually collect.
And this is what they anticipate.
Right.
That's the key,
Right.
anticipate. That doesn't mean it's actual.
And all I'm saying is they've given us this projection or a projection for the last 20 years, and I don't think we've ever said, we're gonna budget what their projection. I just think that's looking at the world through rose-colored glasses, having spent 2 years in Augusta.
Okay, but
Well, they haven't-
then,
they haven't,
but then the
um,
180 that you came up with is based on,
Terry and I came in here Sunday, spent about 3 hours, and we dug through and went through a lot of numbers. We kind of figured out what we collected this year, compared that to last year, what we anticipated we were gonna get the next 3 months. We came up with a number that actually was probably more like 193 or something, and then we sort of trimmed that down to 180, just to sort of be extra cautious. But I don't think, Terry, you are wedded to that number. That was just a number we threw out. That's a decision we as a board are gonna have to make.
And again, part of the conundrum that we're in is that we haven't finished the year like we usually have. So we have more, we normally have. So when you leave this budget committee meeting and setting the budget, you normally have information that you're not gonna have this year.
No.
And that's my caution about the charts I handed out. I would not share those with too many people. Because it's based on best guesses in a lot of things. But I do think that the bottom line is we will get below the LD1 cap probably by about $10,000. But we're gonna we may have to use additional surplus, more than what we already have plugged in there to do that.
Well, why don't we take this piece by piece as a select board? I mean, I think, are we all in agreement that we shouldn't budget more than 236, 439?
correct.
Yes.
And are we all in agreement that we should budget more than 180?
Yes.
Okay. What are your suggestions?
I'm going little, 200.
Yeah.
either that or take the number that you and Terry calculated and don't shave it.
200 sounds good to me. I mean, that's
Yeah, I'm good. I'm
For revenue share.
for revenue share.
Okay.
We good with that?
Yeah.
For a preliminary run, okay?
Okay.
So we need to plug that into your, I don't know, if someone's got a,
I got it.
I feel much more comfortable. That gives us a $36,000 cushion from their projection. Okay, now homestead. That's even more complicated.
And Jeff, you plugged in 181 instead of the 131 for homestead. Is that correct?
Yes, in the chart that I gave you,
Yes.
I used 181 instead of 131.
Well,
But again, like I said, I'm absolutely not married to that.
But let me just pull something up here. If I can find it right here. So you're talking 181. I know it was 040. I'm not gonna. So if we know next year, anything we collect this year is gonna close the surplus, so that's gone as an identity of homestead. So if we do take what we know is coming in July, that's 89,071, call it 89,000, okay? And then if we take the 181, okay, and multiply that times 0.666. 181 was what we estimated, or what was on the commitment sheet this year, but that was for 18 months. So everything else being equal, we would multiply that times 2/3, 12 months for 18 months, which would mean we would get 121,000 in revenue sharing. But we wouldn't collect it all next year because the second payment's going to come in July. So assuming they pay us roughly 80% of that 121, what would that be? 121 times 80%.
96.8,
Huh?
96.8.
Okay, so call it 97. So 97 and 89 is how much? 97 and 89, 186. So you're 181. If we go that method and don't book it as an accounts receivable, I think your 181 is probably a pretty good number.
What percentage of, did you take for the August payment?
80.
80%?
Yeah,
Is that consistent? Is that,
that's been consistent until this year because they didn't know we were changing years. So they based it on previous years. So they gave us roughly 80% of what we had the previous year.
because the formula itself is fixed and it went up last year, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
But, and they can't change that. Well, the
They can-
legislature's still in session, aren't they?
Change anything.
Yeah.
They can change it next year and claw it back. So I guess what my point is, I'm comfortable with your 181. And Kevin also had some interesting observations. Kevin's our assessors agent, that he felt that our homestead exemption is probably not gonna maybe hit a little because many of the sales are going to people who are not residents and will not be eligible for a homestead exemption. So if they're not eligible, we don't get a reimbursement. They don't get the tax break, and then hence we don't get the reimbursement. I thought that was an interesting observation. And I'll tell you, in my neighborhood, I'm seeing it. So are we good with the 181? Yeah, that's your proposal? You good with it?
Yeah.
So that sort of precludes us to even bothering having the discussion with the auditor. Close, yeah. We'll just do it the way we've been doing it for years.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, and so what we're gonna collect is always gonna be out of sync with what's on the commitment.
Okay,
It shouldn't
so
be far out of sync once we get back to a normal 12 month.
when you meet with Rob, he's gonna have that number.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be actual by then, or close to, right?
Yeah,
And that's gonna figure into the calculation.
yeah, well, right, that'll be the amount that's on the commitment sheet, but it's not gonna necessarily jive with this amount, but it hasn't in the past either.
No, I think,
Yeah, right, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm cool. with
and
that.
then maybe once we get past this 18-month thing, we can revisit this, because we don't have a lot of time now. So and if the others commitment reducing revenue stay the same, and by the way, tree growth investments are really not commitment reducing revenues. They're not on the commitment sheet. Which is a minor, I don't want to complicate things with $6,000, but
They are on it
no, they're not.
in another,
No, they're in anticipated revenue. They're not
Right,
on,
right.
they're not listed, just like clerk fees is an anticipated revenue. These three are by law, revenue sharing, homestead and Betty are by law supposed to be revenue, a commitment reducing revenue. But let's not complicate it. We've done it for years now. So if we plug in, if we keep those three other ones, where does that leave us on this sheet? Can you do that?
I look, when I plug in 200 for revenue sharing, 181,040 for homestead, 4,000 for tree growth, 2,000 for veterans, and 600 for Betty, I get 387,640
Total.
total.
So what does that do for our LD1 number?
I have us under it by 19,493 using Jeff's numbers for surplus.
Jeff's latest numbers?
Yeah, 117.
Can you?
Betty, by the way, is not Betty Thomas. It's
That's right.
business
Yeah.
equipment tax exemption.
Did you recalculate the tax levy limit?
No, I left it at 691.
No, you gotta recalculate the tax rate.
Because we're using, so it's back to the old number. First one I did, because we're using 230, no, we're using 200.
Right.
Yeah, we
gotta-
got
So we have to
So you gotta
redo that.
redo that sheet. Can we do that?
I think I just did,
Yeah.
but some, I got to recalculate because it just seemed odd.
Yep, I can,
It does seem odd.
it'll take me a minute, but I can do
Yeah,
it.
that's right. We need to do this.
Yeah, just to double check me, I've done it once.
And this is all part of this going through this fiscal year change, which is worth doing, but there's been some bumps.
So now,
I'll go up and get a pen and use a calculator and see what I come up with.
Yeah, so make sure we get it right.
where do you have-
What's she calculating, the levy limit?
You're gonna redo the
Yeah.
levy on it now because it was done, she redid it based on the 180 in revenue sharing, and now we gotta change that by 20. Shouldn't take long.
So, net producing revenues is now 387,640.
Well, that's what she said.
Okay.
I didn't double check it. Maybe someone should double check that.
All the people that, they're not. Want to-
So we're gonna get a new one.
You might have to just correct that.
Yes, that, I think it's 68, 368. I think.
Let's see if she comes up with the same number.
That's for total for the commitment we use.
Oh, I'm putting them in a spreadsheet here, so I'll have that in a second.
That's what it is.
I come up with 387,640.
Yep.
That's its on
Using this, right? The only thing we changed is we added 50 to that number and added 1,000 to the, no, we left that the same, right? 180.
No.
Oh, no, we don't have a number for the rest. Oh, we do.
Yeah, 200,000.
200,000, never mind.
So I had 200, 180, 1,040, 4,000, 2,600.
Yeah.
Okay, don't feel like you gotta take all this down.
When we get it bottom line.
I'm looking over and thinking, what is she thinking?
She's on the committee, so she's complicit.
So what did you two get again?
387,640,
and Sandra got it too.
and I got it too.
Tell me that again.
Must be true.
Want me to read them to you?
Yeah,
200,000,
yep.
181,040.
That's my error.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, these pens, you can erase, they're awesome.
And you're gonna raise?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Wow.
it's called friction. So I got a new limit of 680,304. Okay, why don't we?
But I was wrong on the other one, but,
Why don't we go over the numbers, Jeff, that you have?
okay, so I think the first page doesn't change, right?
Right,
Okay, so on the second page, line 9 changes to 200.
Yep.
Okay, and then you ignore line 10, you go to line 11. Right, because now 9 is more than 10, 9 is more than 8, so you have to go to the 11 calculation.
Right.
So you have to multiply line 8 by line 7.
Yep.
And I got 193,492.
Yep.
Okay, so then you calculate the difference between 9 and 11A. And I got 58,505.
I got 6508. Maybe it's just a simple subtraction thing here.
Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. Okay. I used 15, it should be 20. 63,505.
6508.
Okay. 200,000
Yep,
minus 43,505. Right?
where'd you get the 42?
I mean, not 43, 58,505.
You minus line 9, which is 200, line
11A.
11A, which is
Which is
193.
193,492. Okay. All right, so now 8.
And I still get 6508.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
And you get 6508 too?
Yes.
Bingo.
okay. So then you end up at 680,304.
Yes.
Great.
So the new adjusted levy limit based on those revised assumptions is 6.8. Go ahead, somebody read it.
680,304.
6800.
No,
304. 680,304.
68030, yes. Okay, so now can we plug the numbers into this sheet?
Yes, and we are below the tax levy limit by $7,985.
And that's using how much surplus total?
at 152.
152,970.
Does that agree with you, Jeff?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we can go home.
Okay.
How much were you on?
7985.
Okay, it all serves. So can we reprint that
Yes.
sheet so everybody's on the same page?
Everyone's happy with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, happy in a preliminary. sense.
Right.
Could I just ask, what number did the select committee come up with for conservation commission? 709. Well, they've got 809 in here.
Because the budget committee is at 500, that's one,
But at least it's not,
We just reduced it by 100.
yeah,
That was the plan.
but it's not reduced.
Where?
On the pages. that I'm using.
We don't have a new printed book.
Yeah, you don't
No,
have
no,
one.
no, but
separate.
I'm looking at conservation commission in the detailed funding, but that hadn't been done yet.
We haven't redone that,
But you redid the number for.
but it hasn't
fire
been
department.
recounted.
I haven't reprinted it.
this came on the second day of budget meetings, and we didn't do conservation until the third day.
Correct.
So this has not been
Oh, okay.
updated.
Gotcha.
It's been updated. Terry's updated. She hasn't reprinted.
I just didn't understand because I saw that other accounts had been
Well,
updated.
that brings up a good point. Do your expenses total what Terry has on her sheet before we print this?
Well, let's look.
So I just need the grand total.
Grant, okay. 1,814,850.
Yes.
Okay. With a appropriation of 1,059,959.
Mhm.
So what, we print it and we can all take a look at it.
What was the other thing that we differed on?
Recreation,
Recreation,
5,000
5,000.
for skateboard. We kept it in reserves, but there was nothing budgeted and John put a 5,000 in. So those are the two departments that we're on.
So we're off by 5,209 from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are off though.
No,
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 no, we're, yeah,
Well, you looked at them.
Yeah, and I won't completely speak for the select board, but I think the select board is happy with our numbers, right?
Well, I mean, I think we need to look at the sheet and vote on a final budget, right? I mean, but I'm personally, I think I'm happy.
What will it take to move you over the finish line, John?
Right, well,
it's pretty skimpy.
yeah, well, I mean, it's a pretty significant,
And this budget's pretty high.
yeah,
I look at it from, in the last decade, we've come up $1 million in our budget. It's a lot of money.
yeah, we
Thank you.
basically went up 15%. I think that's based on 2000. Thank you.
Yeah, in your mill rate projection, did you use any surplus in August?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't assume any additional on it.
Right, but we still got the school bill to come, and if the school bill comes in high or something, we may want to apply.
Yeah,
We've
there was some,
reported 6.7% increase.
but not to the taxpayers.
I understand,
It's
but
less
that's
to the
what they're,
taxpayers.
the hope that,
Yeah, and they're saying 4, I think, to the taxpayers, but
because
but it
there's
doesn't,
more
it depends
revenue,
on,
there's more school revenue coming from the
Yeah.
state.
And-
now.
But we may get, even if it's 4% taxpayers, we may be 8. and
yeah,
Rock
because
might be 1.
it's what happened last year, our enrollment went up, our share went up,
And our values wrong.
but our population went down, which is kind of, well,
It went
says-
down 3% from a decade ago.
Yeah.
And we're only 7 more than outset, so it's
I
not
know.
like a big number.
Question, Terry, I have a question for Terry. Can she print a PDF of that and email it to me real quick?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Awesome. Thank you. Or whatever format you can get it would be awesome. Thank you.
I don't want to send you the whole budget, so I copied it and pasted it, and I'm just making the columns bigger so you can read them.
So,
Thank you.
so I think where we're at is we have a number that we can live with.
Well, we have a number that's under the tax levy.
Correct, yes. And I know that was what Walter wanted to do, on the tax levy. And that's always my goal to be, is to be on the tax levy.
It's my goal too.
And, but I guess the other part of it is, function-wise, you can either, for the budget committee, you can either vote to make all of your preliminary votes permanent, final, and do it in one fell swoop. Or you can attack each individual one. And I think the only reason you'd want to attack the individual ones is if you wanted to change one or both of the two that were different. And there's nothing that mandates that we're the same. But what it does is it does two things. One is it conveys the fact that we all worked together on the budget and we all came up with the numbers that we agreed with.
I sent it.
But the other thing it does is it immediately will cause a question when it gets voted on by the town. Why did the budget committee have it less than $200 less? And to be frank, I would rather go to your number and be the same than have a discussion about that particular item at the town meeting. I think $200 is not worth having the town meeting
I agree.
get side rail,
But I-
which they
It
use.
isn't $200.
It's $209.
$5,000.
No, that's
No, no,
different.
no,
It's $209 for the conservation committee.
Right.
I think
No, no,
you
no.
folks should come to 500.
And just so my position on it was, the conservation committee did something that none of the other committees have done, in my knowledge. And they may have been prodded, but they initiated a call for a budget, and they responded to it. And I just don't want to poke them in the eye when they, yeah, you did a real good job, but not good enough. That's my only reason for holding to it.
Well, Theo should have come and presented it, poor Sandra had to do
I
it.
know.
well. If Sandra did it.
But if you guys change, Bob will be really annoyed in North Carolina since the 500 was his idea.
And I think Bev made a very good point in Thomaston, their conservation, and I did go look at other places there, they get 500 in Thomaston on the budget.
This is your point. The discussion is done.
Yeah, I know.
You need something
I
that.
remember, I think it was my first town meeting. The longest discussion at town meeting was over $250 to stripe the fire lanes at the town landing.
Right.
I almost walked out
Yeah.
and moved.
Yeah, we get, it's easy to get them sidetracked onto. And then they don't discuss the big ticket items hardly at all. They just pass it.
Well, I think there's another thing floating in here.
Fire trucks,
What's that?
fire trucks.
What do you mean?
Well, you have 2 fire trucks. We really didn't talk a lot about it.
Well,
There's no
but
budget in
it's
that.
not this year.
Right.
This year, right. But I'm talking about something this year, and that was Bob's request from the Maine Lobstermen Association.
Right, yeah. That's good.
So we want to budget that. It would theoretically come out of the BODEC side.
Yeah.
So. it would
But what
then-
was his request? Because that was.
To put it bluntly, to put it succinctly, the Maine Lobstermen Association is an intervener, I think, and also filing suit against the National,
Oceanic.
something or other.
No.
Yeah.
And
And basically, they feel that the Maine Lobstermen Association feels that they use faulty data and penalizing the lobstermen when really the right whale endangerment is more attributable to other people, including Canadian fishermen and shipwrights. And therefore, they're asking for some money from the town to contribute to that legal event.
Oh, I thought they were asking for money for the monitoring system.
Oh,
That's the other one.
No.
And, and as he pointed out, the fishermen are the ones that pay 80 or 90% of that boat excise tax and have over the years. And that, it's an economic development investment on the part of the town, or certainly job retention. And, so I think,
How are we gonna approach that?
well, I think there's 2 ways we could approach it. I think we could bake it into the budget, or we could agree to just put it on as a warrant article, as a separate warrant article.
Well, if we're gonna have that discussion, tonight's budget night, so. we should-
Right. I think the budget committee needs, since it's an expense item, the budget committee would need to weigh in on it, right?
What's the expense, like how much?
Well,
We don't know.
I think,
Is it like 5,000 or like
He's,
30,000?
he
he
wasn't.
didn't ask for a specific number, but he said,
Fine,
for comparison, Vinyl Haven had
we're giving $1,000.
$1,000.
That's it?
That's
For
what
Vinyl Haven?
he
Yeah,
said.
that's what I thought.
That's what he said.
For the type of fishing industry?
Because in my mind, I'm thinking 30,000.
Yeah, right.
And he goes, yeah, they gave 1,000. I go,
They're all making 6 digits out there.
So,
Not
what
long.
unfortunately, the time got here, because we just got the letter and it's not on our
Yeah.
agenda until Tuesday. So, I don't know, so if we agree to do it, and I don't, I mean, we could always put it in the budget, and then if we, I don't know.
I
I'm
think
not
the
sure.
idea of a warrant makes it, because it brings it,
Makes it a separate item, it's not discussed, it's not gobbled up. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't include it in our overall budget count.
But the
right,
20,000 one was like.
and that was added right to town meeting, but it
And
brings
where it's not gonna impact the levy limit or anything.
Right.
If, so, well,
Can I make a suggestion?
absolutely. I don't have a solution.
So what, if the budget committee were to make a recommendation tonight, then we would either entertain it on Tuesday or reject it on Tuesday. And since we're not, I mean, I have an opinion, but I'm not sure this is the right place for me to lodge my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I
it
didn't
is,
even have a number.
I think it is on our agenda Tuesday night, and we should take it up Tuesday night, so I like your solution.
Yeah.
Because some other people in town may have a very different feeling about whether the town should support this.
So, and if we're gonna do a warrant article, well, we'd have that discussion, but it would,
Yeah.
then we discuss whether it would be capped or uncapped.
And, right, and Bob seemed to almost welcome the idea of a separate warrant article, because I think that he felt like that would give them a forum to kind of speak to this issue
it highlights.
in the details from their perspective.
I would encourage him or us to organize an information session ahead of time so that he can get, I mean, I use the number 17% of the population is involved in the fishing industry, but the demographics have changed, is less than that. I still tell everybody that I live in a fishing village, and I'm pleased to live in a fishing village.
Can I deviate for 1 minute? I know what the population is with the census. How many property owners do we have and what percentage live out that aren't main residents?
Coming close.
We don't have that information from the assessor.
I don't have that information.
We could
I could
get that
pull that
information, but
information.
it's probably not easy to pull out.
The reason I
You
ask
have to
is
go
like,
to data.
Yeah, I can't get it from Trio.
okay,
And I
yeah,
don't
but
know, and I'm not very familiar with vision. Bill might be able to grab it.
the reason I ask that question is like, you always hear St. George has X amount living and 35, I'm making the number up because I can't remember the paper, 35 live as a second home. That helps their tax base because they're not having a lot of students. I think our town needs to have that information because I need to know how many students actually South Thomaston has and and then to know how many people live as a second home and what the impact is on our picture of our town. I think it's important to know.
I think
that.
the
Well, we know how
students-
many students
The
there are,
students.
and the reason that our share of the RSU budget went up last year, part of that was due to our increased student enrollment.
How many
And I
students,
forget what the number is.
But RSU 13.
They have that.
but I just want all that information. Please.
I will do my best to get it.
Thank
for
you.
but I can't do it myself. I
Okay.
don't know vision enough to get in there.
Well, we could have the number of homestead exemptions that are issued, but that simply means that,
They filed it because a lot of people don't know it.
no, I think we got
I
pretty
think
good, yeah.
just in January, Michelle sent out a letter.
Yeah,
and
we
got a
worked
lot
hard
of
to
them.
get people
Okay, because
But what I was gonna say is, the problem is, anybody who's not a homestead exemption could be a second home, but they could be in state,
sure,
or they could be a business, or they could be vacant land. So there's a whole other pile in that non-homestead exemption pile. It isn't just out of state.
or like the way I have it, I rent one house and so that it doesn't have a homestead exemption.
Exactly.
But and I have 2 parcels, so one does, one doesn't.
Yeah.
I understand.
I mean, some people get 6 or 7 tax bills.
Yeah.
Right.
But they only get one homestead exemption,
Right.
hopefully.
I would just suggest that there's another aspect to this that the town should start paying attention to as part of the problem the whole state is having. That as the percentage of housing stock owned by people who are here a few months a year goes up, people who live here year round are having a harder and harder time to find anything they can afford. I still feel sorry that Lane Sturtevant had to leave town and therefore stop being our school board representative because she could find nowhere in South Thomaston to live. I think we should start being aware and paying attention to how's that working in South Thomaston, and do the people who do or would like to live here or like to continue living here and not be driven out by the taxes, you know, do we have any housing in this town for them?
I don't think it's taxes, it's
It
the
is
price
for
of,
some.
it's the price of housing.
Well, for some people, I know in Rockland on South Side, it's taxes.
Well,
There are
yeah,
older
yeah,
people
yeah.
who can't pay the
Yeah,
taxes.
yeah.
Well, they're doing rebound. That's what happened to them.
Right.
They
It's
did it
it's a
last
whole
year.
combination of
Yeah.
stuff, but, I mean,
But this is a problem.
Rockland couldn't hire a police chief. They made him the offer, he said, I can't find a place to live, and he turned him down. I mean, it's just happening.
Yeah.
Well, it's happening actually across the entire United States.
Correct.
Well,
But it's
really
particularly
bad in
happening on
Maine.
the coast of Maine.
It's really bad
Most of
in
the
Maine.
coast.
And, I mean, this is a much bigger issue than this, but, and right now, the State House is trying to write LD 2003, I think, is designed to help towns manage that. But unfortunately, what they're choosing is a one-size-fits-all model. And they're gonna mandate little towns to do things that they currently aren't doing.
Well,
to
some
try-
of that is misinformation. Some of what is in there is every town has the option.
No, it doesn't. I just read it today. I read every word of it. There is no option. It is gonna require us to buy into the building code. It's gonna require us to have a process where we give people an occupation permit. We are gonna be forced to allow a minimum of 2, and in some cases 4 livable buildings on one lot. Regardless of density, we can no longer consider the ambiance of the community in any of our decisions, or the density, or the impact that has on the land. I mean, it's very onerous, very onerous.
I've got to read it because the description I've been given does not match
That's
that
from the
at all.
proponents. It's from the proponents.
What does
MMA's
occupational permit mean?
An
You gotta
occupancy permit.
An occupancy. You can't move in until you get an occupancy.
A lot of towns do that.
Okay,
Okay, where you get a permit to build your house, but you can't move into it until the town comes in and inspects it and says, okay, this is livable. And this town does not do that.
no,
And we
most-
also,
most cities
most
do.
little towns.
Most little towns.
Most towns.
But this will force it, because in many cases, you can't give a certificate of occupancy until they pass these hurdles. And so if somebody comes in and says, I want to do it, now you have to have a process for giving that.
It's a CO, I would have understood.
Well, I think
All right.
it's an interesting conversation, but I think we're getting a little off the.
No, and that was really my point, but I do want to bring it up on.
But,
So what's your recommendation
My-
for the fishermen?
Well, I got budget committee for the item for the butchery. My personal would be to have it as a warrant item, so it's highlighted and brings publicity to it as well. I think that's important, that
Well,
the town supports it.
But we'd like to be able to say, and the select board and the budget committee recommends
And that's my opinion.
$10,000.
Further distance, I'll just do, Camille, what do you think?
well,
Camille? Good smile.
I have a dog back here that's being quite vocal, so.
What is your thoughts on the discussion concerning Bob Baines asking for money for the right whale controversy and lawsuit?
actually, it's the Maine Lobstermen's
Maine
Association
Lobstermen.
that's asking. for
Yeah.
money.
We're not giving.
Not Bob.
When she
I don't-
brought it up,
I don't think we need to be involved in that at all.
okay?
I don't think we should be involved in that. If anything, let it go to the town and have them vote on it.
Do you support having it as a warrant item, so it goes to town meeting and the town votes on it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I would support that, yes.
Kate,
Your,
your thoughts?
yeah, I suppose considering the demographic, then yeah, it should go to the town.
I agree.
Okay, so do I have a motion? Motion
Motion to,
for the budget committee saying it goes to go on a warrant, so we have at least our recommendation.
well, that's the budget.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I don't want to get technical, but if we're gonna put an amount, doesn't it require a budget committee? Yes. I mean, it can be, the budget committee has no recommendation, but, or am I missing something? Am I?
No,
Well, I think what would happen here, I think
Either way.
they're gonna make a recommendation for us to consider along with our own consideration on Tuesday. If we decide to put an
vote
amount
on
in, then they're gonna have to get together and decide whether they're gonna support that or not.
That's my point. If
Right.
it's an expenditure article, then we need a budget committee recommendation.
Yeah.
Now, I suppose it can be the budget committee makes no recommendation, but, and maybe we can dispose of that tonight if you,
Well, I wish that there were more than 4 of us here.
well, I wish the timing was better, but
Yeah.
things don't always work out.
I don't know.
What's the name of this? It's the whale what?
it's the Lobstermen Association, Maine Lobstermen Association has a lawsuit.
Right.
Yeah.
The feds have come down and limited the ability of the fishermen
Yeah,
to
and
fish.
there's like an official name for it. that they're
It's the
like-
legal defense fund.
That's
What
what,
they're
that's,
raising
they're
money
raising
for.
money for a legal defense fund, but.
Yeah, it's the MLA Legal Defense Fund. I
Right,
contributed
right.
this morning,
Right.
And if you say it's,
because Bob's my neighbor.
Can we get a motion so we can further discuss this? Just so we can move on? Motion, somebody?
well, we move that the budget committee take no position on a proposed warrant article for a donation by the town to the Maine Lobstermen Association's legal defense fund in their litigation against the federal government's proposed regulation
I'm
of
confused. Didn't you support the idea 5 minutes ago?
No, she means make no
Make-
amount.
we
How about,
obtained Meal's position, which I thought I agreed with, was that
we hadn't discussed about an amount, we
not
discussed-
an amount, we only discussed about, we weren't going to jump in and propose anything.
No, that's not what we
All
said.
right, why don't you do the motion if you think you know what we said?
Well, what we said was, and what we went around was, were you agreeing to having it as a warrant item for the town meeting to
Separate.
vote on? A separate vote, would you be part of the budget that we're doing right now?
Okay, right.
Okay, so
Can we do one vote on just going that far? And then
that's what I want, so we can
Good.
further discuss.
good. Second,
I haven't,
I
well,
thought it was a motion.
I was just clarifying, I was, okay. I'll make the motion. I move that we make it a warrant item at the town meeting for monies to be allocated from the town to support the Maine Lobstermen Association with their lawsuit with the federal government. And you can fill in the exact verbiage of the correct unities, but I'm not going to say it tonight, because I don't know it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? Do you want to set a cap at the amount or make no recommendation for an amount? What are your thoughts?
Has there been an amount requested or recommended at all?
No.
Okay.
No,
And who made the request?
Hold on a minute. Is that true? We have not seen the letter yet.
Right.
It's in our packet for the agenda Tuesday.
Okay.
Is there an amount in there? I don't know that
I
that's
don't
true.
think there was a number in there,
Okay, I just
but
didn't,
you have the letter right there, Jeff has it.
The timing on this is bad. And unfortunately, Bob had to leave, go out of state today, so.
You could have zoomed in.
On the road.
Oh, no, that would not be safe.
Yeah, I found the letter, I'm just scanning
It's
it,
like 4 pages of it.
yeah. Educational stuff here.
Yeah, I was gonna read it this weekend.
I don't see an amendment. We're asking those who understand its economic importance and care about this culture to stand with us because we believe Maine lobster is an industry worth fighting to save. To learn more about our Save Maine Lobsterman campaign, please visit savemainelobsterman.org or contact Kevin Kelly.
So there's no number.
No number directed to
Okay.
us. that
So I guess
can
the
find.
answer is no, Camille. There is not a specific.
And I don't know if you heard the conversation, but the select board mentioned that Vinyl Haven was giving $1,000.
Okay, I did hear that. Well, according to the search here, the MLA is trying to raise $500,000 to save it. So
Okay.
So do members want to leave it as no recommendation for amount or cap it as an amount? Any
where would,
ideas?
where would the money come from then? Out of our surplus or?
Suggestion was excise tax.
Boat excise tax that is paid primarily by the fishermen.
And they have like 138,000 in their reserve, in their reserve fund.
Okay,
Is that okay to take that money for that particular
If
item?
the town authorized,
Okay, I just
Yeah.
double checking.
we could, because of that previous town vote, but the town could repurpose that for anything.
Okay, I'm just double
Yeah.
checking.
So,
So what is,
Well, and then, would we want a motion to allow the warrant to specifically raise the question?
we have the motion on the table
Oh, I'm
and,
sorry.
and we're on the discussion if we want to add no cap or to add an amount. And that's what we're discussing right
Yeah,
now.
for at least Sandra's benefit, if not Kate and Camille, does somebody want to explain a capped versus non-capped article?
Well,
Well, I think I get the concept, if there's a capped article, then the recommendation,
We typically don't do capped articles.
oh, no.
And the reason for that is that citizens can make it number higher or lower on the floor of town meeting. But if we put an amount in, then the citizens can make it lower but not higher.
but that's a select board decision, whether.
Whether it's a capped or uncapped.
Actually, what goes on the warrant.
I'm
is
sorry.
select board
Right,
So
decision.
you don't
And
do
whether-
a cap, and then you said if you do a cap.
I mean, the budget committee really should only be
Recommended.
recommending on the expense. But
Well, I mean, they could recommend that we do it as a warrant article as opposed to embedded, in it,
Right.
but it's a recommendation.
if it's a recommendation, it has no teeth to it.
Right.
You guys do that. We're just recommending.
Yeah.
And what we have on the motion is to recommend it as a warrant item. And the discussion right now is if you want to put an amount or no amount.
that wasn't in the motion, right?
Right, but this was what we're discussing, if you want to amend the motion to get the discussion going.
It's hard without the data, like, we only know that Vinyl Haven
Right,
pledged
Well, but
What about other? what's
that is
appropriate?
mind.
go ahead, Walter.
I don't know for 1 minute believe that story is over at Vinyl Haven, given that if, it's,
My feeling is.
if there's
we
no
should-
lobster industry in Vinyl Haven, it's gonna become a ghost, it'll be Tombstone. So I don't
Bob
believe
also
it's
indicated by
$1,000.
the time of town meeting, they would have more information. This is just underway.
My suggestion is we just recommend to the select board that it go as a warrant item, and do not put any amount in and leave it up to them, is my suggestion.
I also want to ask though, should the warrant article specifically ask if they would authorize any of whatever they come up with to come out of the town landing reserve, because unless
That'll
the
be part of
town does that, you can't do it, right?
Oh, we could do it outside.
Well, town meeting couldn't.
Town
But
meeting.
we're not,
they could
Don't
vote
they
to-
have to be told that for it to be able to come out of there, they're gonna have to ask?
Well, that's why we put it on the warrant.
That's written in the
That would
law.
be the action.
All right.
To be funded from.
From the
Well,
town
I
landing
wasn't
reserve,
clear that those words are gonna be there.
But
which
we're
will have
not,
no impact on anybody's tax bills, by the way.
right, because they write the warrant, we're making the motion to have the warrant.
I'm just trying to understand.
Okay.
Okay,
And we haven't even discussed this, and we don't really want to discuss it until Tuesday when it's on our agenda.
Right.
Gotta get the time.
any more discussion on this?
No,
Okay, so the motion is to have a warrant, suggest the select board to have a warrant for monies to be, for legal. Short way. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor?
I,
Okay,
I thought the warrant was going to be to ask the town whether they wish to, right?
Yes. You're making a recommendation to us to put it on.
Actually, we haven't discussed it yet, so we don't
We're-
know.
we're not writing the warrant. All the motion is that the budget committee is suggesting that they do the money, if they want to do the money, depending on how their discussion goes Tuesday, to do it as a warrant item.
A separate item, as opposed to a
All
budget
right.
item.
If that's all, fine.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
I,
Just so
Right,
you
yeah.
have it for Tuesday.
Yeah, so is there anything else the budget committee wants to take up?
Well, I
Well,
do,
just still want to go back to that silly conservation commission thing.
well,
don't you?
not just that, I want to go through, we have to do all of our numbers because we're all preliminary.
No, I mean, was there any,
But
never mind, go ahead.
the
Go ahead.
only preliminary
I'm
numbers
just-
where we differ are two accounts.
That's fine, but we have to do all the budgets because
Yeah.
they're all preliminary.
But we could, if we dealt with those two, probably deal with all of the rest of them in one big bundle. I
No.
was hearing.
No,
No.
okay.
One by one.
Go ahead.
It's up to the chair.
If
up to your
we're
chair.
gonna be consistent and take each one and let's go from admin on.
Okay, we're going to start.
And when, yeah. I'm gonna, before we, does anyone have any other questions for Jeff on the actual and anticipated form? Okay. So with admin, we preliminary, that was Department 510. Yeah, I'm just gonna take them straight through, I'm not jumping around. Admin 510. Preliminary budget was 278,735. Any further discussion on admin? Do I have a motion? Phrase Department 510 Administration.
Yeah.
The budget committee accepts the budget number of 278,735.
Okay.
So you made that motion, Heidi? Okay, do I have a second? Okay, motion's been made and second for admin, budget number 278,735. All in favor?
I,
Okay, 4-0. There's no reserves there. Assessors. 520 is for the department assessors, the preliminary budget number to accept now is permanent 50,000. Dog.
Big no.
Is that Cooper?
No, it's Cooper's new friend Tilly. She's a little tired of this right now. She says, let's go outside. There's still some light.
Do I have a motion?
I move that the budget committee accept for account for Department 520 assessors, budget number of 50,475.
Would you like some water?
No, what I really would like is not black on blue next year. I can't read it.
Is there a second to the motion to accept the assessor Department 520 for 50,475?
Okay.
Second. All right. So any further discussion for the motion? All right, all in favor of Department 520 assessors for a budget number of 50,475? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Camille. And then on reserve for evaluation, it's 10,000 on line 1223. Do I have a motion? Page 40.
The revaluation.
It's revaluation reserve on line 1223.
For revaluation reserve, I move that the budget committee accept. And find line.
1223.
$10,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and second for line 1223 revaluation reserve for to add $10,000 into the reserve. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Neil?
Aye.
Thank you.
I have a question. Does that need to be added on reserve or loan column on the detailed funding sheet? Because the spreadsheet I got has nothing on the reserve or loan column.
Nothing there.
No, that's the revenue side. It does on the appropriation. It's 97,335, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
If we were taking it out of a reserve.
If we're going to do the evaluation. Okay. Next department is Department 530, Planning and Appeals Board, budget number of 2,745. Whoops, that would have been big. Is there a motion?
I move that the budget committee accept the amount of 2,745 for account 530 planning and appeals.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and second for Department 530, Planning and Appeals Board for $2,745. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. 4-0. All right. Conservation Commission. Department 535 for a budget number of $500, and this differs from the select board. Do I have a motion? No motion?
No.
Okay. No motion at all for anybody? I'll make a motion that we, Department 535 Conservation Commission, that the budgeted number be $500, which was our preliminary number, be our permanent number. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded for Department 535, budget number 500. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thanks, Camille, 4-0. All right. Next line, 540, Building and Grounds Department. Budgeted number is 90,811. Is there a motion?
I move the budget committee accept the amount of 90,811 for Department 540 Buildings and Grounds.
Is there a second? Okay, motion has been made and second for Department 540 Building and Grounds for a total budget number of 90,811. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, 4-0. Department 550 Town Landing.
You have a reserve.
Yeah,
Oh.
reserve.
Thank you.
The infamous, we're gonna
Katie.
need a new burner sooner or later, reserve.
All right. Thank you, Walter. Now I have to look at the line. You have that building reserve? 1232. No, because there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Walter, the building reserve doesn't have anything, so,
That's the maintenance reserve.
so did I
It's
make a,
it's
miss
the
it?
maintenance, hold on, I'm gonna go look now. What line is?
I didn't think there should have been there.
There wasn't anything, that's why I didn't do it. So like,
Huh.
there's nothing there.
Well, that just skated right on by me.
So I didn't miss something.
Well, I sure did.
Okay. All right,
I don't have the sheet. Do you know what's in it?
What's the one?
The reserve? It's 20-some thousand, I think, right?
27,923.38.
Yeah, so, I mean, that, we've been funding that in anticipation of the boiler downstairs or the burner downstairs
Right,
failing.
We haven't funded it before, I think 19 was the last time we funded it.
Yeah. No,
Okay. There was
It's a
nothing
miss.
there.
across the board, yeah.
All right. So I didn't have, okay, so I can go back to 550 Town Landing. Budget number 3,615. There a motion?
I move that the budget committee accept the amount of 3,615 for account 550 Town Landing.
A second? Okay, Kate, second. Motion's been made and seconded for Department 550 Town Landing, 3,615. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, 4-0. And then on the reserve, Town Landing Reserve, line 1228, 3,385. Is there a motion?
I move that the budget, sorry. I move that the budget committee accept the amount 3,385 for the Town Landing Reserve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. So, line 1228 under reserves, Town Landing Reserve, put in 3,385, and just as an FYI, the reserve has 138,429 and 8 cents. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Next item is 560 CEO and plumbing inspector for a budget number of 31,100. Is there a motion?
I move the budget committee accept the amount of 31,100 for Department 560 CEO and plumbing inspector.
Is there a second? Okay,
Second.
motion is seconded for Department 560 CEO and plumbing inspection of 31,100. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, 4-0. Next department, 570, fire department. For budget number of 157,465, oh, sorry, 128,894.
Right.
Is there a motion?
I move the budget committee accept the amount of 128,894 for Department 570.
Is there a second? Thanks, Kate. So, motion's been made and seconded for Department 570, Fire Department, for a total budget number of 128,894. Further discussion? I just want to make a comment that I think the select board probably should talk to other towns about getting fire departments to work together. And not the chiefs, because I don't think that'll ever work. But maybe select boards could, even though we have mutual aid that does, we just keep growing and growing. That's my comment. Any further other comments or discussion?
Can I say
Sure.
something? There wasn't a lot of talk about the fire department budget, and I went back and looked at it over since 2015. And on average, it's grown about 2.5%. If you took the number of years, and if all our budgets grew that little,
But it's not,
we would be in great shape.
but it's
I'll leave
not,
it at that. I don't want to
Okay.
argue about it.
but it's not an apples to apples comparison because dispatch and office supplies.
No, I adjusted.
Okay, you did
Yeah,
adjust,
I
okay.
wouldn't do that. We could
Not with you looking over his shoulder, Moira.
I'm just, it does make differences because it all gets locked into someplace else.
It does. I know, I understand it. fully.
All right, so further discussion or comments on fire department? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, 4-0. All right, and then we have to go to reserves for the fire department. So, line 1224, fire truck reserve of 60,835. There a motion?
I move the budget committee adopt 60,835 for the fire truck reserve.
Second, motion's been made and seconded for line 1224 for fire truck reserve to add 60,835 into the reserve. Reserve currently has 245, 269, 26. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, 4-0. Next item in reserve is fire equipment reserve, line 1226 for 10,000. Do I have a motion?
I move the budget committee accept $10,000 for the fire equipment reserve.
Okay, motion's been made and second for line 1225, fire equipment reserve of 10,000. And it has currently $18,065.26 in it. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Camille? Motion passes 4-0. And then we have fire pond. I missed that one at the top. Line 1222, fire pond maintenance, 5,500 into the reserves. Is there a motion?
I move that the budget committee accept 5,500 for the fire pond maintenance reserve.
Is there a second? Okay,
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded on line 1222, fire pond maintenance of adding 5,500 into the reserve. It currently only has 4168 and 35 cents. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Then there's nothing in the reserve for the fire SCBA reserve. And nothing in the fire truck repair reserve. And I think I got them all there. Okay. Next department, Department 580, ambulance service. A budgeted number of 277,813. Is there a motion?
I move the budget committee accept 277,813.
So the motion has been made and seconded for Department 580.
Sorry. For Department 580 ambulance.
I know. 580 ambulance service, budget number of 277,813 has been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? What were the revenues? Because we didn't go over per ambulance. We were up. Were there any write-offs? I forgot to ask those questions.
I forget the amount was larger this year than it was last year.
But we did a fairly significant write-off when we switched billing companies, and the new billing company is doing dramatic.
And they're less expensive.
No, it's the same,
No,
right?
no, I'm
Same?
saying, but they're doing dramatically better.
What's the name of the company?
Comstock.
Okay. I mean, what was the amount of revenue?
Anticipated revenue is 106,000.
Thank you.
Actual is what, 97 so far year to date?
It was on the sheet that Amy gave us the other day.
Okay, and I have that file, so I didn't.
Revenues from ambulance billing from January 1st to March 28th was 120,832.
Thank you.
But some of that's call related. And some of it's better billing related. It's hard to tease out that.
And they're still going to picking up for the items too.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Is there any further discussion on the ambulance service?
No.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And now we need to do the reserves for ambulance. Nothing in ambulance reserve itself, but line 1227, ambulance defibrillator reserve of 5,000. Is there a motion?
I move that the budget committee accept 5,000 for the ambulance defibrillator reserve.
Okay, motion's been made and second for line 1227, ambulance defibrillator reserve of 5,000. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. The next department is Department 590, General Public Safety. And the budget number of 67,597. Yeah, it was added $200 for mileage when we did that motion after we did the first one. So it's 67,597. Is there a motion?
I move that the budget committee accept 67,597 for Department 590 General Public Safety.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and second for Department 590 General Public Safety of a budget number of 67,597. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then we go to reserves. Emergency disaster reserve line 1234, $10,000. Is there a motion?
I move the budget committee accept 10,000 for the emergency disaster reserve.
Second? Okay. Motion's been made and second for line 1234, emergency disaster reserve of 10,000. Further discussion? And Jeff, I went back to my notes and she was happy with 25,000 about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But
Well, last
things
year's
change.
was- Yeah,
But I know, but it is, but things have changed.
I think last year she said.
Yeah, but when I went back to my notes, I had that. But, all right, in further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Yep. Thank you. Okay, you need a lozenge? I've got one. Okay. Department 600 streetlights for 3925. I'll make the motion that we accept Department 600 streetlights for 3,925. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there further discussion on streetlights?
I just have one question. If we went to the, and I suggested that we try and do like a quarter of the year to get ahead of the curve. We need it more money.
Well, we'll do that this year, right? I mean, we're nowhere near that.
Well, the thing is, if you want to get ahead, you need to replace a bunch of them before they need to be replaced.
Right, but they're only a year old.
Yeah.
Are they a year or 2 years?
It was the fall of 2020.
But they actually didn't get replaced until last year.
Installed.
Okay,
So I think we're,
okay.
It's a math problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a probability distribution. Yeah. Somebody can figure that out at a future date.
Jeff,
Yeah, it's pretty easy calculation.
all right. All in favor of streetlights Department 600?
Aye.
Four,
Aye.
thank
Aye.
you. Okay, Department 610, Town Road. For a budget number of 356,794. If I make sure. No changes. Is there a motion? Can you talk now or not? Okay. Good. Okay. All right. Motion of Department 610 Town Road to accept the budget number of 356,794. Kate seconded. 356,794. Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
0, thanks. Now go to, and there's nothing in for paving reserve since we're paving this year. I don't think there's anything else. All right. Department 630, solid waste disposal. And this might change. The budget number is 282,051, and we might be revisiting this on Monday, depending on a meeting tomorrow night. But do I have a motion to accept? If you, I'll do it for you. It's easier. Motion, I make the motion for Department 630, solid waste disposal, 282,051. Kate seconded. Further discussion on the motion?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, 4-0. All right, and you guys are gonna make that transfer to the auditor, that amount that's in there. Okay, Department 640, social services, budget number 1,500. I'll make the motion that we accept social services Department 640 for 1,500. Is there a second? Kate's made, second. So motion's been made. Any further discussion on social services for 1,500? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 4-0. All right, Department 650, Library. Budget number 1,513. I can do it. Library Department 650, make the motion to accept 4513. Kate seconded. The motion's been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 4-0. Recreation. Department 680, the budget number 2020, we differ 5,000 from the select board. They put in 5,000 into it, skateboard repair. Motion to accept Department 680, 2020. There's a second. The motion's been made and seconded for Department 680 for 2020. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And in reserves, we have line 1236, recreational reserve for 5,000. Make a motion to accept the 5,000 into recreation reserve, which is a new account. Second.
Second.
Further discussion on the motion that's been made? All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Thank you. All right. 695 Cemetery, Georges River Shellfish and Veterans. Oh, sorry, Walter.
So did I get this right? You did not accept our $5,000 skateboard repair in the budget, but you did accept our reserve
Yes.
funding. Okay.
Yeah, and when we did it the other night, we asked if there since was no amount, and the answer we got was it was in the reserve, so we voted on that. Then when it went to the select board, John added another 5,000. And I know. And and then when I brought it back, nobody wanted to increase it.
Okay.
So that's why
Yeah.
it was left that way.
Did we vote on recreation reserve?
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, we did vote on that. And I was going on to George's seat. George's, the next one, but Walter had a question, so I didn't. We did vote on this one before, so my apologies on that. All right, so, and I missed debt services, because I was just heading on. So, next department is Department 670, debt service of 68,296. Are you okay to make motions or?
I'm sorry, I guess I just lost you. What page are you on?
On page 39, because after recreation, it's debt service, so I skipped it. Walter stopped me and I recalculated where it was.
Okay,
We finished recreation, which was on
I
part
took out my page
38.
because, no, I took out 39 because all the reserves were on the back of it, so now I can find it. Okay,
So
68,296. Correct. Okay, I move the budget committee to accept 68,296 for debt services.
is there a second? Okay, motion's been made and seconded for Department 670, debt services of 68,296. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, 4-0. All right. I think I got everything on my list. So now we can go to Department 695 Cemetery in Shellfish for a budget number of 31,794. Motion? Page 41.
Total is All right, I move the budget committee accept 31,794 for Department 695, Cemetery, Georges River Shellfish and Veterans.
Second, okay, motion's been made for Department 695 Cemetery, Georges River Shellfish and Veterans, with a budget number of 31,794. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. And then if you go back to reserves, we have cemetery line 1231, Cemetery Reserve Trust of $1,000. Their motion?
I move the budget committee accept 1,000 for the Cemetery Reserve Trust.
Second. Okay, motion's been made and seconded for Cemetery Reserve Trust line 1231 of $1,000. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Neil? 4-0. And last is Department 702, capital expense of $15,743. Is there a motion?
I move the budget committee accept 15,743 for Department 702 capital expense.
Second? Motion's been made and seconded for Department 702, capital expense, $15,743. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
4-0 passes.
Back to us.
Back to you, sir.
Okay, so I'd like to do this in one fell swoop motion if you could, but before I entertain a motion, does anybody want to discuss any particular line?
Conservation. Okay. So I move that we change our preliminary from 709 to 500.
Oh, you made a motion. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I did.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved to second, we changed to 500. I understand your rationale, but I won't be voting for this.
And the rationale is to not.
He doesn't want to prolong the town meeting for 6 hours.
Right. And if you look at it, the cost of having their own website makes up that difference. So because I don't want them to have their own website either. So it's kind
So
of,
don't fund it.
that's right. Yeah, so.
No, I'm forced to accept that logic. even though I didn't accept the, God help us if we differ from the budget.
Well, no, because.
No, but the reason we dropped it was because of the website. And that, even though, because it doesn't make sense for them to have their own website.
Further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed?
Oh, no. Okay, see, because on the other line, they were different. I think we stay different.
Well, I was gonna say, is there? All right, let's go
Oh,
to,
wait a minute. Jeff's motion was to drop it to 500.
Correct.
Yeah.
And get rid of, yeah, okay. I need to reconsider my. Okay.
Are you Liz Cheney?
What?
Are you Liz Cheney?
okay. We can go through a formality here and say only those who voted in the affirmative can, but I will dispense with that and we will pretend the first one never happened. Already 8 o'clock and I thought we'd be out of here by 7:30.
6 years of really paying attention to the protocol, blowing it at the last minute.
So
Jeff.
is there a motion? Jeff, will you restate your motion?
Okay, that we change our preliminary from 709 to 500 for Conservation Commission 500.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Okay.
Do I vote?
Okay, does anybody have any other questions or comments on any other line or would like to make a motion?
I do.
Okay,
And this is just, how can I forget? Capital expense. What's our capitalization threshold? When is something capital and when is it capital expense? Or do we not have a firm
well,
policy?
no, I think we do have that defined. It has to be over a certain amount per unit
Yeah, I don't
and
remember.
not expendable.
Yeah, so
I mean, not
something that gets PCs, I think you'll find out that most companies
no longer.
no longer capitalize personal computers. They might capitalize servers and large disk arrays, but they're becoming expense items because they are disposable and they're cheap.
And they have a very short life. I don't know what that is. It's pretty cheap. Is it $200 or $400?
I think it's 2,500.
Is it up that much now?
I
Wow.
think. That's what I seem to recall.
Oh,
When is something equipment versus supplies?
I thought it was 2,000,
2000?
but
We do have a policy. I don't know what. the
Yeah,
number is.
I'm too old for this.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
remember it. My first day as a select board member, I asked that question.
And I thought about it at the time, I thought, wow, 6-1 have to. I like the idea of capitalizing things that we should capitalize. That's the way normal business does it.
Yeah. Back in the day,
I'm averse to it.
you and I had the discussion, we need a capital plan. It's just like the paving plan.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you need to increase your legal for next year with what's going on with library and community center or not?
I'm hoping that's gonna happen this year.
Well, I understand, but I'm just,
Yeah, I don't know. Does anybody
No,
entertain that or?
No, I'm happy.
Okay, does anybody have any other thoughts, comments? We all agree on the numbers. Terry, you've updated them from the changes that were made, which was the fire department. We reduced.
Yep.
We added 5.
Yep.
We just reduced which is gonna mess up all our levy limit numbers now by $209, but that's okay.
It's baked
Sorry,
in.
Gary.
It's baked in.
yeah, I haven't.
I know, but all the changes been made. Okay,
Oh, I
So-
have to take off the conservation 209
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Those little things.
right now.
If you forget to do that all year long, next year, everything's gonna be off $209. You'll see that number again and again and again.
So I make a motion that we accept as final all of our preliminary numbers.
And you just put the total amount in there.
Yeah, so that, now I gotta do higher math here. It'll be 1,814,641.
Is Terry running the number too?
That's exactly what I.
that's what I have.
Yeah.
Okay, is there discussion on the motion?
Well, I'm going to second it.
Oh, I'm sorry, is there a second for the motion?
Yes, there is.
Is
The
there,
question is, are we accepting or are we recommending or are we approve it?
well, I think
I've
we're,
never been clear on that.
well, I think in the warrant, it says, technically says recommend.
Recommend.
It says budget committee recommends, selectmen recommend.
So we are recommending.
Let's recommend.
I was gonna bring that up earlier, but I thought this meeting was already long.
So you're recommending all the preliminary.
That's the way we traditionally have written it in the warrant. Okay, further discussion.
I don't know.
Back.
Can Jeff just go over his surplus numbers?
Yes, I'll do that
Thank you.
fairly quickly, I think.
Well, can,
Okay, yeah, let's
When-
finish
when-
up.
when-
Let's finish up.
When you're ready.
because I have a conversation, when we get to the funding side, I have some questions and thoughts about surplus as well. So I just don't want to get off track here, so. We can always revisit this, so. We got a motion on the number, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now Jeff, if you want to go over surplus numbers, go ahead.
Okay.
But I have some questions and a suggestion there.
Okay, so I've got administration 15,000 from surplus. I have planning board of appeals 600 from surplus. I have building and grounds at 31,400. CEO and plumbing at 700. Fire department at 14,000. Ambulance department at 7,000. Town roads at 20. I got red on red. So 26,000. Transfer station or slash demo debris, the two combined, 12,500. It's really on our side. Library, 1,100. Recreation, 5,000. Reserves, 10,000. And cemetery shellfish veterans is 13,927. Capital improvement is 15,743. 152,970.
Question, yeah. Which are not unspent, never, okay. this-
My last goal was right around 100,000, so that wasn't unspent.
Yeah, that was.
And that was a couple nights ago. I
right,
didn't
that
do
was
it.
before the-
Okay, so I know recreation is a one-time new,
Right.
so that's 5,000, okay, all right, I know you,
So I hope you're not counting on any public works unspent.
No, this is from. Well, I did roads. Let me see what I did.
Because
We're gonna be short.
We're gonna be, if anything, short.
Town roads. I got 26. Okay, let's see what it was. So not all, some of it was stuff.
Okay, I don't, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
6-1 have to.
Right, exactly.
But I'm just to let you know, I mean, I just ordered, several $1,000 of culverts for it. They just arrived.
we saw them arrive.
It's on for the island road that we need. Okay, so, I took, this gets a little complicated, but I think it's important. I took our budget, our net municipal appropriation from last year, multiplied that times 66% to basically annualize it because it was an 18-month budget. And that gave me a net municipal appropriation of 612,000. This budget currently reflects a net municipal appropriation of 672,000. That, if I did my math right, is a 9.8% increase. I know we're under the LB1 limit, but I don't really care about that number because I think that's a shell game. Yeah. I am not comfortable going into town meeting with a net municipal appropriation of 9.8%. I'd like to get it down somewhere around 3%. And I would suggest that we, I think we're gonna have plenty of surplus. I would suggest that we increase the surplus by $40,279. Which, if I did my math right, gets us down around 3.26% increase.
40,297.
Well, just to make it zeros, right? So, can I let that comment? Sure. Yeah, so,
I have no problem with that.
okay, and then Walter, I don't know if you have any thoughts, initial thoughts or not, but I just can't walk in there with a 9% increase.
Well, I feel, I like where you're going. I am always nervous, spending is certain, revenue is uncertain.
Mhm.
So you're spending $42,000 that we don't have and have no guarantee that we're gonna have, except that we all believe it's gonna be 732 or whatever in surplus.
Yeah, I mean, I know, but we do that every year.
Yeah,
But anyways,
but I don't like the 9%, and I don't like 1763 that Jeff was
Yeah.
talking in terms of the mill rate. But I want to see something with a 16 in it, so.
Laura?
I like what you're saying, but I'm a little concerned because of this meeting tomorrow night where we're gonna be short, maybe.
Well, that makes it even worse.
Yes, and that's why I don't know if you really, if you want to maybe think about after his meeting, because it will be worse.
Well, I personally, if it is worse, I would look at perhaps even dip further. But at this point, I'd like to get it down around 3%. I think that's a reasonable,
I think that's fair. Anything under
Increase.
5% would
and,
be
you know,
better.
we focus on the shelving one, but to me, that's a shelving. And, you know, I think what's important is what the percentage increase is on the net municipal appropriation, which translates to our portion of the tax bill. All said and done. So our portion of the tax bill, the town's portion of the tax bill would be about a 3% under my scenario. Now, that doesn't mean that the big piece is the school. So, I mean, we still could end up with a 6% increase, who knows? Overall. So I would actually make that in the form of a motion. I would like to increase the amount of surplus applied to this budget by $40,279.
I'll second.
You got it. Further discussion?
And it's not, it's an application to reduce the net municipal appropriation. It's not spread over departments.
Well, you can spread it into them anyhow you want it.
Yeah, we do want to spread
Are you
it
gonna
out.
spread it, Jeff? Are you gonna spread it out?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
spread it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, really, technically, we don't need to do this. We could just take it off the bottom line, but I've done this way for 100 years.
Well, and it's the way I calculate.
Yeah,
So,
I understand, So,
but you're right.
right. So, further discussion?
Who seconded that motion? Your motion?
I
think
did.
they both did. Yeah. Walter did that. All those in favor? Aye. And that's not to say we couldn't revisit it again,
I think you
based
will.
on our conversation Tuesday, based on what Walter brings back from the transfer
I think I'm gonna go in that meeting tomorrow and tell them that the South Thomaston Select Board absolutely will not accept.
station.
See what they say. So Jeff, good job at, I don't know whether you've always done it this way, but at feathering the excise tax into the departments that actually.
Oh, I did not do the revenue or the excise. That's
Good
all
job,
Terry.
Terry.
Thank you.
And she always does. I only do the service and make recommendations.
But just, I just want to make sure public works, okay, there's nothing from appropriation. Because there's always people in Augusta who want to take excise tax and say, if you don't spend it on roads, you gotta give it back to us. Right.
We spend it on roads.
I just want to make sure that that was zeroed on public. Yeah, I can make an argument that ambulance and fire should be partially funded by excise tax, because a lot of what they do these days is they respond to accidents on the roads that involve cars and pay excise tax. But a lot of people in Augusta don't have that perspective.
And I say, why does the fire department do the job that law enforcement should be doing? Then it's because we're a small town. And we don't
Okay.
have critical mass.
Do we have any other business before us tonight? Oh, you wanted to spend a few minutes on?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's gonna be, most of the information is probably gonna be pretty close. This one you can probably share, but the numbers, the actual numbers that are, the pie is based on a percentage.
I think just showing you where the pie, you don't have to look at the numbers.
Right. Yeah.
It's a visual.
So the numbers may be a little bit inaccurate, but because that's based on the mill rate that I am assuming that it's gonna be, and it may or may not be that. But the pie is accurate to what we approved tonight. The only thing that's off on this is this year's actual appropriations. So that number is in red. And you can see we've pretty much been on this track for quite a while.
And the blip is the,
And the blip is the 18 months.
Which one are you showing?
okay. Jeff, it might not,
Okay.
might not
add
hurt
18 months.
to put a footnote, 2021, 18 months.
Yeah, yeah, that's what Walter suggested.
Because it jumps up.
I don't have the final numbers from town revenues, so this is just a guess. But again, it's the same kind of track over the years, that increase is steady but sure, just like it's steady but sure on our increase. This compiles, and again, it's going to be off because we just added 40,000. This compiles what we have put towards the budget from surplus and reserve.
This sheet, let's get rid of it.
Which one's that? The mill
The
rate?
one that says 17.6.
Yeah. This was just for us. I do not want anybody anywhere to see this particular one.
Although you just.
Well,
watch it on TV.
it's on TV
That's
anyway.
okay.
Well, it should just not say how much it was.
Yeah,
So it's no longer accurate based on action taken tonight.
that's exactly right. And this is the total town budget, but again, it's in red because and we may increase our town budget.
Further business before this?
Only thing I have from the select board is I would like on Tuesday to discuss the LD 2003. I think that's a significant bill that's going to impact the town.
Add that as an adjustment to the agenda because Terry's already got it posted. And
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
it called, Bill?
LD 2003-2003, and I'll make copies of.
Just
it.
remind us Tuesday night, you want to adjust the agenda, right? I don't want to make Terry go all around town again.
No, that
My
was,
least favorite thing to do.
Walter, will you be emailing us about your meeting on Friday so we know about our 4:30 meeting on Monday?
If we have a resolution.
Yes, that's all we need to know.
Well, I'd like to personally thank everybody for 4 hard nights and particularly Terry for 4 hard nights and 4 hard days. So.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good working with you on
Motion
this.
to adjourn.
So move. Move to adjourn.
Second.
At 8:08?
All those in favor? Aye. Selectboard is adjourned.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Camille,
You sent me
Camille, we're
most
gonna
recent
scan you these sheets.
revenue.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Kate's gonna do that
I
for
looked
you.
for it and I couldn't.
Okay.
find it. But that could have been me just,
No, it could have been, I
second
got
it.
doing it and then
Let's
got
make it easy.
distracted.
yeah, the only one I've got is just December, through December. So,
Good night, everyone.
Good
Thank
night. Thank you.
I will do
No,
that.
they were for you.
Oh,
One was.
The other reason I'm very happy to do
Four,
this
and then
surplus,
this is
even if
the
I
one
were
voted.
against doing surplus, is I think
You
we're
already
underestimating
emailed
our
her,
other.
and yeah, I don't put it in the.
Well, I don't know if they're gonna be better than.
Yeah, and you're right about the advertising. I mean, it does carry through for 5 years if people registered a lot of new cars last year. But I don't know. It's a topsy-turvy world right now.
Yes, just next year or 2 years out.
Well, I
It's
mean,
gonna
with everything, I mean,
make a
it's,
difference.
right. I just, I mean, I don't know, it's just, there seems to be no stability in the world. Huh?
I have a 16-year-old car and an 11-year-old car. And I just now holding my breath every day.
I've only got a 7,
Makes sense.
no, 8.
to do it Monday. Yeah. Yeah.
That's gonna be 5.
Yeah.
You're stopping recording, right?
Because what I would do,
Yes, well, I paused it.
just have
Not that anybody